اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Who are Gog and Magog? They are human beings. They are not some strange creatures living in the interior of the earth. That's Disneyland thinking. They're human beings. The barrier built by Zulkarnain was destroyed by Allah in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu. And if you don't want to believe this that I have said, fine, you can accept that the barrier is still there. We don't have to be divided and be fighting with each other over it. No. I say the barrier is gone, it's destroyed. You say the barrier is still there. So why do we have to be fighting and dividing ourselves with each other over this? All I'm saying is, if the barrier is still standing, why aren't you searching for it? I think there's a question of credentials here. If a barrier built by Zulkarnain mentioned in the Quran, a geographical reality mentioned in the Quran is still standing on the face of the earth, not buried beneath the surface of the earth, what kind of Disneyland thinking is that? If it is there standing on the face of the earth, why are you not searching for it? Why has no human being seen and recognized that barrier in 1400 years? And more since the Quran was revealed. Why? My answer is because it's already been destroyed. But you don't accept that answer. You say Imran Hosein is misguided. Don't listen to Imran Hosein. Fine. That's shameful. Scholars don't behave like that. If Gog and Magog have been released, then we can understand the fasad in the world today. Universal fasad. Inna Ya'juj wa Ma'juj mufsiduna fil ard. If they are released in the world, they are the agents of fasad. They're the ones who have brought the Jews back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. Then it's very easy for us to recognize who they are. Well then, if they are brought down, the barrier is brought down and Gog and Magog are released, then we should be looking for footprints, eh? Footprints. Well, let's leave Surah Al-Kahf and go to the other parts of the Quran, searching for the ayat on Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And we find in Surah Al-Anbiya only one more reference to Gog and Magog, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about a town. Remember the town? And He had destroyed the town, punish it by destroying it, and then expelled the people of the town. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا. And then He banned the people of the town, that they could never return to reclaim that town as their own. أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. They are in a state of permanent exclusion, banned from returning to that town. Hatta, until when? Hatta إِذَا فُتِحَتْ يَأْجُوجُ وَمَأْجُوجُ, until Gog and Magog are released. وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. And Gog and Magog, when they are released, they spread out in every direction, which is one meaning. And if you spread out in every direction, then you'll take control of the world. The land, the sea, the air. Read Toynbee. Read Arnold Toynbee. Read a book called Civilization on Trial. I'm giving you good books to read, incidentally. not comic books. Read Arnold Toynbee, the British historian. Read a book entitled Civilization on Trial. You should get it on the internet. It was written somewhere around 80 years, 90 years ago, 1935, somewhere around 70, 80 years ago. And in that book, Arnold Toynbee points out that modern Western civilization has risen upon the world with a mission to take control of the whole world. And he says, the land, the sea, the air, everything. He said it in that book. وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَدَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. They spread out in all directions, and with the indestructible power they take control of the world. For the first time in history, one people will control the whole world. Nobody ever did that before. The other meaning is that they descend from every height. So they target you and they impose themselves upon you. You can't get away from them. Which town is it? Which town is it that is linked with Gog and Magog, which is the biggest footprint of all? Which town? We used this methodology, that we looked at all the ahadith of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ pertaining to Gog and Magog, to see whether there was any town mentioned by him that is linked to Gog and Magog. And when we had studied all the ahadith, we found only one town, only one in the hadith. And it is Baytul Maqdis, Jerusalem, Al-Quds. And so we said, well, here is a hypothesis which is already resting on fairly firm foundations, since this is the town mentioned in the hadith that is connected with Gog and Magog. So let's look and try on the shoe and see whether it fits. Why can't we do that? So then we looked at Jerusalem, and we found that this is a town which was destroyed by Allah. And Banu Israel were expelled from the town, even though Allah had given the land to them. The first time that they violated the covenant with fasad, وَقَضَيْنَا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ فِي الْكِتَابِ لَتُفْسِدُنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ وَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. The first time they committed fasad, He expelled them and then banned them from returning. For 100 years they were in Babylon. And then He allowed them to return. And then the second period of fasad. And then He punished them again and He expelled them. And having expelled them this time, He left a door open for them. Despite all your wickedness, it is still possible. Asa Rabbukum ayyarhamakum. It is still possible for you to be forgiven and have mercy. There's only one door. This is the door, a man named Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you shut that door, then tilka ummatun qad khalat. You're finished. Divine punishment will now begin. And if you are taken for a ride and brought back to the Holy Land by Gog and Magog, and you return with your fasad, then guess what I'll do with you? وَإِنْ عُدْتُمْ عُدْنَا. If you return with your fasad, your wickedness, your oppression, I will return with my punishment. The first time was an army that punished them. The second time was an army that punished them. The third time it will be an army that will punish them. I don't need the hadith from Khorasan. Quran is enough for me. Yes, I said it to you before. A Muslim army will now attack and destroy the state of Israel. And so, we recognize the town to be Jerusalem. And we ask the question, who are those who liberated Jerusalem and brought Banu Israel back to Jerusalem? If you can recognize who they are, you have recognized Gog and Magog. There are other footprints by which we can recognize Gog and Magog. They're very thirsty, said the Prophet ﷺ. They'll drink up all the water of the world. They'll pass by a river and drink it dry. But there is one body of water which supersedes all others in importance.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
And now we come to the one hadith that has created a problem for the world of Islamic scholarship. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim. It speaks of the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And then he kills Dajjal. And then after he has killed Dajjal, فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ. Ba'atha does not mean release. Ba'atha means to send. But somehow or the other, everybody have come to the conclusion that after Nabi Isa alayhi salam kills Dajjal, that Allah will now release Ba'atha, Gog and Magog. The first of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee, but in Arabic it's not the Sea of Galilee. That's an English word used by the Christians. The Jews don't use Sea of Galilee. The Jews call it Lake Kinneret. Kinneret. And in the Ahadith it is known as Buhayrat al-Tabariya, Lake Tiberias. All three names refer to the same body of water. The first of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee and start to drink the water. And by the time the last of them pass, they will say, there used to be water here. I think this is a fairly simple footprint to recognize. Fairly simple, like the tall buildings, that when you see the water level in the Sea of Galilee going down and down and down, and when it reaches the point of no return, that it has crossed the level now, that the Sea of Galilee could ever be revived. It's only a matter of time for it to die, to dry up. Then you know that you are close now to the end. What is the water level in the Sea of Galilee now? The answer is the water level in the Sea of Galilee has already crossed the point of no return. That's how low it is. Indicating that Gog and Magog have been passing. When they pass by the Sea of Galilee, where are they going? They're going to Jerusalem. When they go to Jerusalem, what are you doing with the water? You drank all that water? Huh? We are dealing here with religious symbolism. It's not the actual drinking of the water. Rather, it is the consumption of water. Israel said, we're going to make the deserts green. Those Arabs couldn't do that. They are dum-dums, the Arabs. And we have the scientific and technological know-how. We can change the desert and make it green. So when you see the water level in the Sea of Galilee going down lower and lower and lower and lower, you know that a lot of them have already passed. And by the time the Sea of Galilee dries up and there is no more water, they have all left the north and they have reached to the Holy Land. Where are we now? Answer? Just look at the Sea of Galilee and you know. A little island just appeared in the Sea of Galilee maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, which was not there before. The Sea of Galilee is going down. It is in irreversible decline. It's just a matter of time now before it dries up, indicating that most of Gog and Magog have already come this way. We now come to another intriguing event. It is located in the Sunan in the Sahih of Imam Muslim. A companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he was Christian, he became Muslim. His name is Tamim Dari. He came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and narrated an event which occurred. When we study the event critically, we come to the conclusion this could not have been an actual event, it had to be a vision. The Prophet listened, and then he said to the people, "Sit down, I have something to say to you." Tamim Dari came to me and told me something about the Antichrist, which confirms what I have been saying to you. And now we get the story from the blessed lips of the Messenger of Allah. What is the story? Tamim ad-Dari and some 30 or 40 of his companions went on board a ship. And then the storms came and blew the ship for a whole month before they arrived at an island. And when they got on shore, they got off the ship and they went on shore, they were confronted by a very hairy creature. Plenty hair, so much hair you could hardly tell which side is head and which side is tail. And then this creature spoke and said, "I am Jassasa." Jassasa, spy. Surah Al-Hujurat, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا, do not spy. So this is an island with a lot of people who excel in spying. And then Jassasa pointed to a monastery. There's someone waiting to see you there. And said, "There's someone waiting to see you," pointing to a monastery which is lying in ruins. So they rushed to the monastery. And there they found this young man, powerfully built, with curly hair, but there's no description about his eyes. His hands were chained to his neck, his feet were chained. And this man began to question Tamim ad-Dari and his companions. A number of very interesting questions.
The man said to us, "Tell me about the palm trees of Baysan." Baysan is a city in Jordan. And he wanted to know whether there were palm trees planted in there or not. We said, what do you exactly want to know about Baysan in Jordan? He said, I asked you, are there more palm trees and have they be filled with dates or not yet? They said, yes, it is full of palm trees and full of dates, more than many other places in what we know. He said, soon its palm trees and dates will become scarce, will no longer give fruits. Today, really, in Jordan, dates are scarce now. It used to be in history, abundance. He said, now explain to me about Buhayra al-Tabariya. They said, what do you want to know about it?
He asked, is there any water left in the Sea of Galilee?
He said, does it have water in it? They said, yes, there is lots of water. He said, soon its water is going to go away. It's not going to exist anymore. And truly today, the water has gone drier than before.
And then he said, I am Dajjal. I am the Antichrist.
Thousands of years ago, Moses had to strike a rock to get water in the desert. Well, today Israelis are taking a slightly different approach, using technology and creativity. In Israel, the main sources of drinking water are the Sea of Galilee and 2 underground aquifers. In 1953, Israel started building the national water carrier, a system of pipelines, canals, and reservoirs that carry water from the Sea of Galilee to the rest of Israel.
For centuries, the Sea of Galilee has inspired believers the world over. The waters the Bible tells us Jesus walked on, the shores where he performed his miracles. A place of beauty, religion, and legend. But today, on the brink of disaster.
Water should be above our heads, in fact. The tragedy is that you don't need to be Jesus Christ anymore to walk here on the Sea of Galilee.
Environmentalist Guidon Bromberg and I could walk the floor of the lake because its waters have retreated hundreds of yards.
Making the desert bloom is unsustainable, and the demise of the Sea of Galilee must send that message to Israeli politicians.
This bay should be full of water right up to those rocks. The Sea of Galilee is so low it must be pumped uphill into the Jordan now, the river it should feed. Otherwise its baptism sites would dry up. But the Jordan doesn't flow much further from here. Israeli authorities deny mismanagement. Instead, they blame the weather.
Such a drought of 5 successive years, that's something we never met, and that's also something that statistically is really rare.
On the waters, boatmen who fish for tourists are deeply alarmed.
We used to use the first pier, and then the water level went down, so we brought another one, and now another one.
Do you think it's going to get better?
We pray it will be better, and it will be. We trust God.
It'll need more than divine intervention. Scientists say if the Sea of Galilee sinks another metre or 2, it could reach a point of no return, and this could be lost forever.
The Sea of Galilee is dropping so fast that islands of earth are appearing. It could run out of water altogether in less than a year, and this is 1/3 of Israel's water supply. The Jordan River is drying up, barely a muddy stream in places. The farms along its banks dying without water.
As the dry months of summer sweep through the Middle East, Israel is faced with its worst water crisis ever. The water level in Israel's 3 main water sources, the Sea of Galilee, the coastal aquifer, and the mountain aquifer, have now receded to the lowest levels in recorded history. In fact, the 3 sources have already dropped below the red line, the point at which Israel is supposed to stop pumping. Faced with increased consumption due to population growth, land development, and water commitments to Jordan and the Palestinians, Israel has no choice but to continue pumping from its water sources. Yet if Israel continues, water levels will soon drop under the black line, the point of no return, where continued pumping will cause severe, irreversible damage to Israel's water sources.
Israel lies in the arid Middle East region. Population growth and dry winters have led to dangerous decline in the country's two main water sources. Lake Kinneret in North Israel is shrinking, while the underground water reserves are overused and partially contaminated.
The biblical River Jordan, a rare freshwater resource in the Middle East. It forms the border between Israel on the West Bank and Jordan. At this bend, about 6 miles from Jericho, it's believed John the Baptist baptized Jesus of Nazareth.
In the 60s, the water level of the Jordan River was actually where we're standing now.
In wintertime, it was this high.
Gidon Bromberg is Israel Director of EcoPeace Middle East, an environmental group.
Badran Jabba surveys his destroyed crops. A field of cauliflowers and tomatoes, ruined. And it's not the result of a natural disaster. What happened here was man-made. Badran Jabba's fields lie right beneath the illegal Jewish settlement of Kiryat Arba. There doesn't appear to be any restrictions on water use here. A row of greenhouses where the settlers are growing crops. This is the Israeli water mains for the whole region. State-of-the-art and well-maintained. Across the road is the local connection for the Palestinians of Al-Baqa village. Rusty and with a smashed gauge. Only one house in the village has a water supply. It belongs to a cousin, and Badran has connected a pipe to it.
The taps in Hamid Muhamni's home are there more as a sign of hope. There's been no water through them for 5 long months.
The municipality does not give us water as they should. Water comes through our pipes twice a year.
More than 300,000 Palestinians across the West Bank are not connected to a water network, according to Palestinian human rights groups. Since the 1967 occupation, all water resources are exclusively in Israeli hands.
We receive maybe 2,000 cubic meters per day. It means that we need 7,000 to give the people to reach 70 to 80 liters per capita.
Once you leave the West Bank and cross into Israel, the picture could hardly be more different. There's no shortage of water here. Israelis quite literally splash it around. And you'll hardly find a more striking example than this of how Israel squanders water. An ornamental fountain in a park, while Palestinians in the West Bank barely have enough water to drink and to wash. Amnesty says the settlers use 5 times as much water as the Palestinians in the West Bank. Back in the West Bank, the settlement of Har Sinai is expanding across the fence from Radi Sultan's fields. There's no shortage of water here.
Today, Palestinians have access to roughly 90 liters of water per day per capita, while Israelis have access to 284. Palestinians say this disbalance results from the Israeli Water Corporation often cutting off their water supply and Israel denying them permits to dig wells. They say that Mekorot maintains a strict quota on their water usage while pumping unlimited amounts both for Israelis and for Jewish settlers in the West Bank.
This is the most significant source of surface fresh water that we have. For this region, where we're talking about Israel, Palestine and Jordan, this is it. Israel pumps water out of this lake into what is called the national water carrier, bringing water from this part of the country, the northern area where we have most of the rainfall, to the very dry south.
Munther, a water engineer, talked to us in Wadi Fukin, a Palestinian village surrounded by Israeli settlements.
Water to us Palestinians, it's pumped by Israel, by the government of Israel. And the government of Israel is giving us less than 1/5 of what he's giving to his population.
Cut off from the Sea of Galilee and the Jordan River, the Palestinians' only freshwater sources are groundwater and what they buy from Israel. Israelis use 3 to 4 times as much water as Palestinians, while Americans use 8 times as much. Across the border in Jordan, people share the same watershed and the same scarcity.
This place was in this, what we see in this picture. This is the situation of this place in 70s and 60s and 50s and the last century. It's disaster.
A leading rights group claims Israel is depriving Palestinians of their fair share of the region's scarce water supplies, while settlers and other Israeli citizens splash it around. With the tap all but closed for residents of the West Bank and Gaza Strip.
Some areas in the West Bank have had no water for the past 40 days, while the Israeli water company Mekrot has diverted their share to illegal Israeli settlements. Israel has announced that it has turned off taps to the Palestinian communities in the occupied West Bank, effectively leaving tens of thousands of Palestinians without any water supplies. Currently, water lines are empty in Jenin, several villages in Nablus, in addition to the city of Salfit and its surrounding villages.
Israel has complete control over the region's water resources. It prevents Palestinians from digging wells and other methods to invest underwater sources. Palestinians are only allowed to dig wells with a specific depth in specific areas. They control everything regarding water.
According to Amnesty International, nearly 200,000 Palestinians in the West Bank do not have access to running water.
Gaza, which lies between the arms of the Mediterranean, is now a crisis water area. Most of the families in the Gaza Strip do not have access to water, both drinking and running. However, the people would now dig in the ground for any water if it works for them.
We have nothing. We are sitting in the school. We have no water, no food. There are a lot of casualties in the school. We even don't shower.
Now, Israel's national water company has cut off supplies to tens of thousands of Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank. Mekrot has decided to close the valves which supply major areas of the northern West Bank. The city of Salfit and surrounding villages, including Jenin, have been affected.
ميته سيئة جدا. ميته عاقله لا حتى الحيوان لا يقبل انه يشرب.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
A very strange hadith al-Qudsi, repeated 4 times in Sahih Bukhari, 4 times in Sahih Bukhari. How come they don't teach this subject? That on Judgment Day Allah will speak to Adam alayhi salam and will say to Adam alayhi salam, take out the people for the hellfire. And Adam alayhi salam would ask and say, oh Allah, how many are they? And then Allah would reply and say to Adam alayhi salam, out of every 1,000, take 999 for the hellfire. You don't believe me? Huh? Go and read it. It is there in Sahih Bukhari, and it is repeated 4 times from 4 different sources. It is a hadith which is mutawatir. Out of every 1,000, take 999 for the hellfire. So the companions were terrified. And then he looked at them and he smiled. And he said, good news for you. The one for Jannah would be from you. Meaning, from those who follow the truth. The truth. The religion of Abraham alayhi salam. Who follow the law which was sent down. But now listen to what he said. Listen carefully. He said that the 999 would all be the people of Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog. In other words, success in the last age does not lie in numbers. When you see the herd, large numbers moving in that direction, you go in the opposite direction. Because numerical superiority, the 999, that's the hellfire. The one for Jannah is only one. But it also indicates that in the last age, Gog and Magog are going to succeed in getting all of mankind to enter into their embrace. Because he said 999 will be Gog and Magog. So the original Gog and Magog are going to replicate themselves. I use the word carbon copies. And eventually all of mankind will be living one way of life. And it will be a way of life into the hellfire. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said there will be those who will be standing there inviting you to come to the way of life that will take you into the hellfire. Mankind will follow them. He said it. So the global society, process of globalization, has very sinister connotations attached to it. How can a God who is merciful, who is Ar-Rahman, who is Ar-Rahim, who is Al-Ghaffar, who is forgiving, and who is prepared to forgive all sins, how can he consign 999 out of every 1,000 for the hellfire? There's only one answer. Don't go searching for any other answer. The only possible answer is that this is taking place because of shirk. Only shirk can explain this. And this is what modern Western civilization gave to the world in a new political philosophy which took sovereignty away, which no longer recognized sovereignty as residing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we live in a world, in consequence of this modern secular state which has replaced the Khilafah state, in which every single thing that Allah made haram has now been made halal. Everything. Shamelessly. Allah prohibited money being lent on interest, didn't he? The definition of Islam is submission to Allah. What is submission to Allah? Submission to Allah is submission to Allah as Al-Malik. In some translations in English you find Malik as king. No. We don't want that translation tonight. We're dealing with political terminology here tonight. And so Al-Malik is the sovereign. Now that's a word you'll understand. Sovereign. Lahul Mulk, sovereignty belongs to him. And so to submit to Allah in Islam is to submit to Allah as sovereign, who possesses sovereignty. To submit to anyone else as sovereign, to declare that anyone else possesses sovereignty, is to say goodbye to Allah. Did you hear that? To submit to Allah is to submit to Allah as Al-Akbar. And He reminds you that He is Al-Akbar, because every time you perform salat, you cannot move in salat without Allahu Akbar. Al-Akbar is the one who has supreme authority. For a Muslim to submit to anyone else and recognize his authority as supreme is to say goodbye to Allahu Akbar. Islam is to submit to Allah as Al-Hakam. The 99 names, this is one of them. Al-Hakam is the lawgiver, who not only gives the law, but his law is the supreme law. And when he makes something haram, it must be enforced as haram. And when he makes something halal, it must be enforced as halal. And so anyone who submits to any law other than Allah's law as the supreme law has said goodbye to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Al-Hakam. This is called, in the political terminology of Islam, this is called shirk. When Fir'aun declared, and of course everyone knows what Fir'aun said, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, I am the one who is sovereign. I possess sovereignty. That was shirk. When he declared, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, I am the one who possesses supreme authority, that was shirk. When he declared, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, my law is the supreme law in the land of Egypt, that was shirk. And Allah punished him with terrible punishment for his shirk. The people are now sovereign, no longer the God of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the people constitute the state, and they locate sovereignty in the state. So the state is now sovereign. This is a European creation. It didn't come out of the world of Islam. Oh no. Not only is the state sovereign, but the authority of the state is supreme. And it is the state which now makes law. And the law of the state is the highest law, the supreme law. But more than that, the God of Abraham alayhi salam could make something haram. But we, the state, can change that and make it halal. Get up and correct me. We can change it and make it halal, meaning legalize it. And that is what Europe proceeded to do. Everything that Allah had made haram, they made it halal. There's nothing left now. When they declared that sovereignty belonged to them, not to Allah, that was shirk. It was shirk for Fir'aun, it is shirk for them. When they declared that the authority of the state is supreme, that was shirk. When they declared that the law of the secular state is the highest law, that was shirk. And when they declared halal what Allah made haram, meaning when they legalized what Allah made haram, that was shirk. There is no authentic Islamic rule anywhere in the world today, because those who rule us are not Muslims. Where's the evidence? When last did you take up the Charter of the United Nations Organization? Take up the Charter of the United Nations Organization and open it and read, I believe it is 24 and 25. That in all matters pertaining to international peace and security, Allah is not Al-Akbar. No. The Security Council of the United Nations is Al-Akbar, meaning there is no authority above it. That is shirk. And so once you are a member of the United Nations Organization, your Amir al-Mu'mineen, your Khalifa, your leader, your ruler, ultimate ruler is the Security Council of the United Nations. And so you can call yourself an Islamic Republic, like Pakistan used to do before it became an American Republic. And I don't say this to ridicule the Pakistani people, because I studied in Pakistan and my heart beats with the people of Pakistan who are imprisoned in Pakistan because they don't have the freedom to choose their own leader. Their leader is chosen in Washington by the Zionists. The modern secular state says no, Allah is not Al-Hakam. Parliament is Al-Hakam. Parliament makes the law. And the law that comes from Parliament and the law that comes from the United Nations is the supreme law. The modern secular state says more than that. If I am wrong, would you kindly correct me? The modern secular state says that Allah can make it haram, but we can make it halal. And everything, or almost everything, because we have not reached New York as yet. In New York, they now legalize the marriage of a man with a man. In New York, they have now legalized the marriage of a man with a man, and yet you want this, you want your green card, eh? To become an American citizen, eh? So go and stay there and never come back. Those are your people, not ours. The modern secular state says Allah can